Morning, everybody. It's me on Saturday morning. Fantasy baseball. Yes, I start a minute early. You know, it takes a second for the sound to come through, and I'm just finishing up my notes here on Zach Gallen. I'm so proud of this kid. I was talking to Boston Paul the other day, but I'll save that for when we get the sound coming through the chat room. And it'll happen very soon. So there's a lot going on in baseball. Yesterday, there's been a lot of call-ups. So today we're going to do a little clip about call-ups to consider. And I hope that you'll stick around. That should be happening with the tidbits. You know, I take after Lenny. I was trained by Lenny. And I pretty much start the show with the nuggets, the tidbits, and then we do the games. We highlight the games. The sound is good. We're going to do some highlights today in a little bit different way. You know, I'm always trying to get better. And I think that part of the reason I love to do this is not just to talk baseball and to keep up with my fantasy baseball teams, but, you know, to interact with the chat room, to give Lenny a break, and to really just continue to try to improve on my sound. The sound is good. And I was talking to Boston Paul yesterday about making a trade. Well, we ended up making a trade. In our NL only league, it's a keeper league, and you get to keep your players one round earlier than they were drafted the previous year. I really need some saves in that league. I have a ton of pitching, but I have Zach Gallen in that league, and I ended up giving him Joe Musgrove in the 5th round, and he gave me Giovanni Gallegos in the 12th round, and I have Helsley on my team, so Gallegos is a good handcuff in the NL only, but also I can possibly, if I choose to keep Gallegos next year, I can keep him in the 11th round. And you know how slim it is to get closers in an NL-only league, or an AL-only league too, for that matter. But either way, Musgrove is not having a great season. I do realize that I probably sold low on Musgrove, but I just, that's what I did. But in the meantime, Paul also has Camilo Doval in that league. He has three closers, Doval, Gallegos, and Dylan Floro. And of course, he started by offering me Dylan Floro, who I'm just not interested in the least in Dylan Floro. But I did say, okay, what can I get? I'll trade you a good pitcher for Doval. A good starting pitcher for Doval, because Doval is just on fire. There's no doubt about it. He did it again last night. But here's the thing. I said, I'll give you a good starting pitcher, not my best starting pitcher. And Gallen, you see, when somebody has a sentimental attachment to a player or a pitcher or whatever, I admit it. I totally admit it. There's certain players that I have a sentimental attachment to. Gallen is one of them, because for the last 4 years I've been saying Gallen is excellent. People have some of the responses and rebuttals to me loving Gallen is the fact that his velocity is they call it mid 90s, but I would say it's more like lower 90s, because it's 93 miles an hour for his fastball. But I have zero problem with pitchers who don't throw 100 miles an hour. I do not think velocity is the number one attribute of a pitcher, and I think that there's way too much put on velocity, but that's just me. And the fact that he was on a bad team was another thing, another strike against Gallen. But I was talking to Paul, and it just occurred to me, nobody's ever going to get Gallen from me. And it's not because he's the best pitcher in the league, although he could be the best pitcher in the league. It's because I have a sentimental value for this guy that I absolutely cannot let go of. It's kind of like this, I don't know how to explain it. I have the same feeling for Eflin, who I was all about getting. I really put it out there that Eflin would have a good season. And these are all just predictions. But, I took in the facts of the matter, the fact that he's, going to Tampa Bay, that he's shown potential, that he's shown that he does have good pitching skills. And went with that. I have a sentimental value for DeSclafani. I have a sentimental value for Lourdes Gurriel. Of course, I have sentimental values on the opposite extreme of that, where I just can't stand a player because he burned me too many times and I'll never draft him again. I think we all have that. But with Gallen, like I said, this guy was not highly touted. Part of the reason being that he was on a team like the Arizona Diamondbacks, who did recently get a new pitching coach, and I talk about that all the time. But Gallen is 6-0 in 7 starts at Chase Field this season. He's 10-1 with an .84 ERA at home since last year's All-Star break. So kudos to Gallen, my little friend over there. I kind of look at him like my son in a way. I don't know. It sounds ridiculous. Let's move on. All right. Cubbies left-hander Justin Steele did a light workout yesterday, and he is going to pitch today. He was prepping for his return to the starting rotation today against the Orioles. In 12 starts this season, Steele has a 2.65 ERA and a 2.84 FIP in 68 innings. So that's great to see Steele back. Hello, everybody. I'll say hi to my friends in the chat room. Eddie Heckman, great to see you. Dennis Timko, I'll say hi to Aiden, but I know he's off at camp. I hope he's having a great time. Little Aiden, one of my favorites. Chris from Cambridge, Chris Gallo, Data Premier, nice to see you. Eddie Heckman, of course. Merrill's here. I hope to see Mitchell here, but wonderful to see you, Merrill. Poncho Jr., great to see you. Post 1958. SM King Turd, Rotorius is here, and unfortunately, I can't scroll down on my...
Toledo and White Sox.
Yay, Unholy Toledo is here?
Yes.
Okay, Unholy, we're going to talk a lot about the Cubbies today, so I'm really thankful that you came today.
And White Sox Al.
And White Sox Al, it's wonderful. We're going to, on the other side of the things, the downside, we're going to talk about the White Sox, the poor White Sox. What is that's cooking, Poncho? In your sink, something that looks like ribs or marinating or something going on. Oh, that looks delicious. Oh, yeah, ribs.
Hey.
All right, I'm looking at the chat room. What am I getting, nagged at? Okay, Here we go. Speaking at Jeff McNeil's charity event, Pete Alonso said he's feeling better every day, but wouldn't put an exact timeline on his return from the injured list. Now, Ronnie Mauricio, one of these youngsters for the Mets, who they will probably be bringing up soon, I already mentioned there's quite a few call-ups happening right now, and we're going to try to talk about these guys that are most likely not already owned in your fantasy leagues. But Ronnie Mauricio made his first start in left field yesterday for AAA Syracuse. He's playing different positions. I mean, to me, it's just a sign that the Mets are getting ready to call this kid up. He wasn't great defensively, but he did hit 2 solo home runs. He went 3 for 5. He has 10 home runs and 37 RBIs on the season. He's batting .322 in 62 games at AAA. So we welcome Ronnie Mauricio in the near future. Now, Tristan McKenzie was taken out of the game prior to the start yesterday. He went to Phoenix, or he's in Phoenix. He had an MRI on his right elbow, and the Guardians are going to make a decision on whether he'll be able to return to the mound in the coming days, or if he's going to need a stint on the injured list. We have to wait for the results to be released to know this. It's worth pointing out, though, that he missed the first couple of months this season due to injury as well. So Tristan McKenzie waiting for news on his MRI. So last night was a great game at Dodger Stadium between the Giants and the Dodgers. It was crazy. It went into 11 innings, and the bullpen, I have to say, would be the reason that the Dodgers blew this game. But it was the second time this season that the Giants have won 2 straight games after trailing by 3 or more runs in each. Before this year, the last time they had won a game when they were trailing by 3 or more runs was in 1998. The Giants' 5th comeback win this season, and I don't know if they even deserved it because there's all kinds of errors. San Francisco committed errors, 3 errors for San Francisco and 1 error for the Dodgers. David Peralta has a slight upper body hamstring injury and won't play today. Chris Taylor is getting an MRI on his knee and also won't be available. So the Dodgers made quite a few moves yesterday. They promoted their pitcher, who had an excellent outing, by the way, Emmett Sheehan. Michael Bush was promoted. He's an infielder. Michael Grove went to AAA, and Max Muncy went to the injured list. It's retroactive to Tuesday. It's unfortunate because this Emmett Sheehan was really the highlight of the game yesterday for the first 7 innings. They pulled him out of the game in the 7th inning with a no-hitter going. Let me tell you this. There have been 3 starters in the modern era, that means since 1900, to be pulled after 6 or more innings with a no-hitter intact in their MLB debut, and all 3 of them saw their team lose the no-hitter and the game. That's just ridiculous. Why'd they pull this kid? I'll have to look at how many pitches he threw. That probably has something to do with it. But how do you pull a guy out in his debut when he has a no-hitter going on in the 7th inning? Give me a break. What, are you going to destroy the guy's arm if he gets through the 7th inning? Or even pitch? I just hate it. I hate it. It's so bad, in my opinion. Now, here's a MLB trade deadline update. It seems that the Astros are looking for left-handed bats. John Morosi brings up Corey Dickerson. And so the Cardinals said a few weeks ago that they wouldn't become a seller. But I have to say, they have now lost more games than any team in the National League. Can you believe it? They've lost more games than any team in the National League. And you know, speaking to these rival managers, they say that the Cardinals never sell, and I agree with that. You can never count the Cardinals out, ever. But you know, people are still going to make projections and predictions, and they're going to talk about who is the most likely to be traded in a sell-off. And you do have Jordan Montgomery and Jack Flaherty, both free agents to be. Also mentioned is Tyler O'Neill as a logical trade candidate. He would fit with the Yankees maybe, who could use a left fielder. But here's my opinion. First of all, nobody wants an injured guy. This guy has not played at all recently, and when he was playing, he was absolutely horrible. Tyler O'Neill is not a horrible ball player, but who are the Yankees really going to trade for an injured guy to help them in left field? It seems to me that they already have Calhoun doing just fine over there, batting up at the top of the order and stuff like that. Sometimes they come up with these fantastical potential trades, and it makes no sense for any team. Jordan Montgomery and Jack Flaherty are free agents at the end of the season, so to me, okay, fine. But when you start speculating about Goldschmidt and Arenado, that is just, I'm sorry, it's not realistic, because these 2 players are a huge popularity pull for the Cardinals, and they're superstars. And to top all that off, both of these guys have full no-trade clauses in their contract. So good luck trying to trade Goldschmidt and Arenado with full no-trade clauses. So also, Unholy, you're going to love this one. The media, they say Jed Hoyer has the juice to sell if he wants. They have starter Marcus Stroman, who has an opt-out after 2023, and Cody Bellinger on a 1-year deal, candidates to bring back a haul. Why would they trade these 2? It makes no sense. I'd love to hear what you think, Unholy, about the Cubbies trading Marcus Stroman or Cody Bellinger. These 2 players that they took a chance on, who are just absolute. Look, Cody Bellinger is back, and the Cubbies are on an absolute tear.
Stroman's a free agent.
All right, he's not a free agent. He has an opt-out after...
Right.
What?
You're right, go ahead.
He has an opt-out after 2023, but why would he opt out? Fine, maybe he will opt out, but I doubt it. Anyway, the Cubbies are a great team to play for. They have a wonderful fan base. Wrigleyville is fun. People like them whether they're good or bad. And right now, Cubbies fans are super excited. And if a team is going to start making trades, it just makes no sense to me, okay? It makes zero sense. So I would love to hear what Unholy Toledo thinks of the Cubbies trading. They're 30-37. They have the best run differential in their division. And yesterday was their 11th game, scoring 10 or more runs, second only to Texas. They beat the O's 10-3 last night. But I have to say, okay, the Texas Rangers are not looking good since the news about DeGrom. And a couple people pointed out to me this is the end of the Rangers just because the clubhouse, I don't know, it's just a bad...
Yeah, the clubhouse mentality.
The mentality of the clubhouse is bad. Even though they were doing great without DeGrom, it's so strange that they're affected this much by a pitcher going out who was already out all season. So, I mean, I get it. They don't have anything to look forward to, so it makes them feel bad. But they were playing great without DeGrom. But you know what? Both Lenny and King Turd were right about this. The Rangers, ever since they found out DeGrom wasn't coming back, they have been tumbling down the hill, okay, gaining speed. Ronald Acuna Jr. is the first player in MLB history to have 15 or more home runs and 30 stolen bases within his team's first 70 games of a season. Now, I added some other stuff here on Acuna. I hope it's still here. Maybe it's in the recap, so let's just keep on going with our tidbits. Freddie Freeman struck out, yesterday to end the game for the Dodgers, so that was a disappointment. But let me tell you that Freddie Freeman is still the set it and forget it type of player that you draft in the beginning of the season, and here's why. He ranks top 5 in hits, runs scored, batting average, doubles, total bases, OBP, and OPS. So Freddie Freeman quietly doing it. Ohtani has a 12-game hitting streak. During this 12-game hitting streak, he's got a 489 batting average, a 571 on-base percentage, and a 1.111 slugging. Saw a Gaussman win. Mitchell Hartson and his grandson Christopher attended the Rangers game last night, so that's probably why he's sleeping in today. That's awesome. Gaussman's line looked much better than he hurled as he scuffed with his command throughout, so apparently Gaussman didn't have as good of an outing as it says in his stats. The Reds, America's team, won their 6th consecutive games and are at 500 for the first time since the second week of the season. They are just a half game out of first place. Andrew Abbott was asked after the game if he's ever going to give up a run this year. He's the only MLB pitcher in the modern era to begin his career with 3 straight scoreless outings of at least 5 innings. He's also the first pitcher since 1901 with scoreless outings of 5 or more innings in each of his first 3 appearances. It's kind of the same thing. The Reds are going to win the Central. Yeah, it is nice to see the Reds doing so good, but I still stick to our bet. So etch it in your table. King Turd says that Ellie De La Cruz is going to steal more bases than Trey Turner from now until the end of the season. He could be right. This Ellie De La Cruz is on a freaking tear, okay? This guy's breaking records all over the place. He's very exciting to watch. And so I'm rooting for Ellie, don't get me wrong, but I'll take the beer. I'm always going to bet on the veteran. So yesterday, the White Sox struck out 16 or... Okay, hold on. The White Sox struck out 16 or more times in consecutive games for the first time in 123 seasons. They also see the largest attendance decrease in Major League Baseball. The poor White Sox flailing. How about this? Orlando Arcia is currently leading the All-Star vote getting for the NL shortstops. Orlando Arcia leads the All-Star votes for NL shortstops. So pay attention, Orlando Arcia. Is he finally going to break out after all these years? Johnny Cueto, second rehab start with Double-A Pensacola yesterday. He pitched 3 2/3 innings, 7 hits, 4 earned runs, a strikeout, and a home run allowed. It took him 62 pitches to get through 3 2/3. Is Johnny Cueto done? All right, here's a question for the group. What would you think of an influx of Ohtanis? There's no shortage in Japan of multi-talented players. Are you happy with just Ohtani, or do you want to have them throughout the league? I mean, shoot, who would say that you don't want more Ohtanis, right? No team would say they don't want an Ohtani. So if that's happening all over Japan, that's exciting. Here's some call-ups to consider. This is an important part of the podcast, so put your thinking caps on and get your papers and your pens and your pencils and all this.
Bloody fingers.
I don't say bloody fingers, Leonard.
Okay.
Emmett Sheehan, obviously, the Dodgers starting pitcher. We're going to talk about him. We've already talked about him a lot. I have to put him on here because he was just called up to make his Major League debut, and we do have waiver wire pickups starting tomorrow. Another player to consider is Bo Naylor. He's going to catch. So, they just let go of Zunino. They designated him for assignment. So this guy is getting Bo Naylor. He's getting called up today. He will start today, and he should see the majority of the reps behind the plate. He had an 891 OPS with 13 homers and 217 at-bats with Columbus. Expect to see him today. Michael Busch, another guy we talked about, second baseman, called up for the Los Angeles Dodgers. He did not do well when he was called up at first this season. In 19 at-bats, he hit .211 with a .348 on-base percentage, 4 walks, and 9 strikeouts over 7 games. He's still considered one of the best prospects in the Dodgers system, and I will say he did much better at AAA this year, where he had 215 plate appearances, 39 runs, 7 home runs, 38 RBIs, and 1 stolen base, and he hit .313. So he's got the call up yesterday. I don't know for sure that we're going to see a lot of him. You kind of want to wait and see what the Dodgers do with him. And not only that, but like I said, he stunk when he came up the first time this season, and sometimes it takes these guys a while. Another guy that we're not sure if he will get enough at-bats for relevancy, but Miguel Amaya, the Cubbies catcher. Now, he's been up, but yesterday he hit a home run, and his offensive prowess has been on display a little bit. We have Kyle Hendricks. Every time Kyle Hendricks comes up to pitch, it seems like Amaya is the catcher. Also, he's gotten some at-bats as DH when they're going up against a lefty. So, as long as Gomes and Barnhart are both healthy, he probably won't get everyday at-bats. Obviously, he won't get everyday at-bats behind the plate, and he only fills in against lefties at DH. So, he would be a potential in an only league, or if you're desperate for catchers, but definitely if you're desperate for catchers, you got to go for Bo Naylor before you try to pick up Miguel Amaya. Maybe you do one of those contingency bids. All right, another piece of news before we get to the games. We have a heartbreaking week at The Athletic. Oh, these poor media vultures are so sad. In 2020, The Athletic laid off 8% of their employees. It was 46 people, and they implemented company-wide pay cuts. Now they're letting go of another 4%, which is 20 reporters. The thing is, The Athletic, we subscribe to The Athletic, but I don't read it nearly as much as I used to. The Athletic was founded in 2016. It raised $140 million in venture funding, and then the New York Times bought it last year for $550 million. But last year, The Athletic lost $6.8 million in February and March, and another $12.6 million in the second quarter. It lost $7.8 million in the most recent quarter. So really, they started out, they said, we're going to have, and they did a good job. They had beat writers for every team. So you could, no matter what team you like, you could go to The Athletic and you'll find stuff written about your team, which was great. But apparently they're going to be downsizing. They're not going to have beat writers for every team anymore. And they're going to do more stories that cover the entire sport rather than focus on teams. Like they're getting rid of their beat writer for the Mariners. They're getting rid of their beat writer for a couple of their beat writers for the White Sox. They're just downsizing. And so you saw a lot of crying from the sports media yesterday. I don't know, but I wonder if anybody could say, are we in a recession yet or not? I wonder. The Baltimore Orioles lost to the Cubbies. I told you 10-3 yesterday. The Cubbies, their fourth straight win. They broke open a close game with 6 runs in the 6th inning. Chicago has won 6 of their last 7, and the 4-game winning streak matches its season high. It's so exciting. They were in these great uniforms yesterday with Wrigleyville across the chest. They finished with 12 hits for their 4th straight game in double digits on hits. The Cubs have recorded a 4-plus run inning in 4 straight for the first time since 2018. And what do you think it has to do? Does it have to do anything with Cody Bellinger being back? I have to say it does. Some of these players are just big, I don't know. They just help the team or they hurt the team. Baltimore did come into the game yesterday having won 6 of their last 7, but Cole Irvin was pulled in the 5th and the bullpen just went crazy. Kyle Hendricks, 5 innings, 1 strikeout, 2 earned runs, 88 pitches. The bullpen for the Orioles, holy moly, you don't see this very often. They gave up in 3 innings, in 3 total innings, the bullpen for the Orioles gave up 7 earned runs. Christopher Morel homered. He drove in 3 runs. Dansby Swanson and Christopher Morel actually combined for the 6th set of back-to-back homers for the Cubbies this season. It was the 7th homer for Dansby and number 12 for Christopher Morel. Beginning the season, would you have ever thought that Christopher Morel would have more homers than Dansby Swanson at this point in the season? He does. He has 5 more homers. Miguel Amaya, I told you a little bit about. He made his major league debut in May. He connected for his first home run on June 4th at San Diego, hit another home run last night. Nico Horner had 2 hits and 2 RBIs. Ryan O'Hearn had 3 hits. He's actually batting .396 in his last 16 games. Austin Hayes collected 2 hits and 2 RBIs. What the hell is going on with Ryan Mountcastle? Could this guy please either go on the injured list? Actually, I think he is on the injured list. He was on Tuesday, of course, right? Because I have to set my lineups on Monday. And he didn't play all last weekend because they said he was suffering from some kind of illness. But it didn't. I sat here last Saturday and they said he probably won't hit the injured list because they made it sound like it was some kind of stomach bug, okay? Anyways, they put him on the injured list on Tuesday. He's feeling a little bit better, but he's still under the weather, okay? Mountcastle sitting on my active roster on the injured list. He's got vertigo. The Cubbies' Justin Steele is pitching tonight against the Orioles' Kyle Gibson. Gibson is actually 4-0 with a 2.61 ERA in his last 5 starts, so that should be a good pitching matchup. Hello, guest Danny Fuller. Nice to see you. Hello, Brooksy. Sorry it's been tough to get in here. No problem. I just appreciate you coming on a Saturday morning. It's great. Too bad we already talked about the Cubbies so much. You'll have to rewind and listen to it. I still didn't get what Unholy Toledo thinks of this idea that the Cubbies are going to trade players when they're doing so good. I just don't see it. The Marlins beat the Nationals yesterday. The Marlins actually won for the 10th time in the last 13 games, and they improved to 18-5 in one-run games, including 3-0 against the Nats, the most one-run wins in the major leagues. Miami is off to its second-best 70 game behind their record in 1997 when they won the World Series. So they're having a great season. Miami off to the second-best start since they won the World Series in 1997. A.J. Puck, saving games, got his 8th save in 9 chances. Surprising I'm not seeing him pitching a bullpen session. That's usually what it says for A.J. Puck. Anyway, Alcantara gave up 5 runs. Good grief. 10 hits, 5 1/3. His ERA is now almost 5. He's given up 4 more earned runs in 5 of the last 7 starts. It's horrible, this guy. What a disappointment for this season. Now, Trevor Williams, Nationals starter, he allowed 5 runs, 7 hits, and 4 1/3. Took him 86 pitches to get through 4 1/3 innings. That's not great. Luis Arias making news again. In case you didn't know, Arias was actually in an 0 for 15 slide. Yesterday, he went 5 for 5, 3 RBIs, raised his major league leading batting average from 378 to 390, and ended a 52-game homerless streak dating back to April 11th. It was a career-high 5 hits for Arias, so he's having a great season. A lot of ways you could compare him to how good Tony Gwynn was when he first started. Lane Thomas had his 7th leadoff homer. He came into the game 0 for 15 against Alcantara, but hit that homer off of Alcantara, and he also doubled yesterday. Candelario tied the Nationals record with 3 doubles yesterday. Gene Segura did not play. He's got a left hamstring soreness. And Trevor Rogers is rehabbing in Jupiter. He will be evaluated again this weekend. He could begin throwing on Monday. He was almost nearing a comeback before he had a setback with his right lat strain. Victor Robles came off the injured list. He went 1 for 4, 2 strikeouts, and Alex Call was optioned to AAA Rochester. So tonight you get to see this youngster Braxton Garrett. He's got a 4.10 ERA on the season, but his ERA over the past 6 starts is 2.25. So Braxton Garrett is not as bad as his ERA would tell you. Tonight you get to see him go against Jake Irvin. He was skipped his last turn, and he hasn't pitched since June 6th against Arizona. Definitely taking Braxton Garrett tonight against the Nationals. That's a no-brainer, right? Bye, Eddie. Going to the movies. Have a great day. Tell Teresa hello. Yes, Gwen could steal bases, but that's true. I forgot about that. Thanks, Leonard, for pointing that out. All right. The Red Sox beat the Yankees 15-5 yesterday. Boston earned its 3rd victory in 4 meetings with the Yankees after winning 2 of 3 last weekend at New York. Boston had 15 hits and 17 hits. That's season highs, and the Yankees tied their season high for runs allowed. The Yankees were credited with just 2 errors, but were totally out of sorts defensively the whole game. They made wild throws, mishandled ground balls. They were out of position. They allowed infield hits. The Yankees were a mess defensively yesterday. Tanner Houck gave up 1 run and 4 hits with 2 strikeouts and a walk before he left the game in the 5th inning because he was hit in the face by a line drive off of Kyle Higashioka. So Houck immediately went to the ground. His right cheek was bleeding. He was able to get to his feet and walk off on his own, but he did get stitches, and then he was checked out of the hospital. So we've had a couple of these serious, being hit by line drives. We've had that happen in the head, okay? Whatever it is, I doubt it's anything but a coincidence. Anyway, Domingo Germán allowed 7 runs, 7 hits, walked 2, and threw a wild pitch. Justin Turner had a great day yesterday. He had a grand slam, a 2-run homer, and a double. I'm surprised he didn't, never mind. He tied his career high with 6 RBIs. He scored 3 runs. Yoshida drove in 3 runs on 4 hits. Aaron Judge missed his 10th game since he sprained his right toe. The Yankees are 8-12 with Judge on the injured list and 31-19 when Judge is in the game, another very important player to the team's lineup. Josh Donaldson single in the 4th was his first hit since opening day that wasn't a home run. He hit his 6th home run of the season in the 8th inning. So he's got 8 hits on the season, and 6 of them are home runs. Yesterday was his 2nd hit not being a homer. All right, so Judge received another platelet-rich plasma injection on his toe. He continues to make progress. Harrison Bader will make at least one more rehab appearance in the minors before he's going to join the team, possibly as soon as Tuesday. And Carlos Rodon and his wife Ashley slated to begin rehab starts in Double-A. He might need as many as 3 starts, but I highly doubt he's going to need that many. That's just my opinion. Nestor Cortez may begin playing catch this weekend, but the earliest he's going to come back is July. Just checking the chat room. It's so nice to see all of you guys. This is great. Mitchell is here. Hope you had a wonderful time at the game yesterday. Leonard Donaldson here. Great to see you. I just love the action in the chat room. Tom Johnson here. Love it. White Sox out. Everything. All right, Clark Schmidt will make his 15th start today.
Kenny Flamia.
And Kenny Flamia. Good. Thanks, Leonard. All right, Clark Schmidt, another one. He's making his 15th start today. This guy has made it through at least 5 innings in each of his last 5 starts. He's going up against Brian Bello, who, when I saw this, I have to cringe at myself. I think the going question for me today is, which player do I regret dropping most? Like literally just dropping onto the free agency. Francisco Alvarez or Marcelo Zuna, because both of these players are worth keeping on your fantasy team. And I'm sure someone scooped them up right away. But they were stinking. And anyway, those are 2 regrets. But another one I might start regretting is Brian Bello, who is making his 11th start. And his ERA on the season is 3.78. But in the last 8 starts, he's got an ERA under 3 and hasn't allowed a home run in 19 innings. So, come on, man. Jeez Louise, how many players can I drop? This is why I don't know what the hell to do, because I really believe that you shouldn't be messing around with your team early in the season. If you have a good draft and you like your team and you don't have any glaring holes right away, I think the worst thing you could do is just start dropping players. But there's certain times when you have to drop some players who aren't cutting it because you have to replace an injured guy on your roster and you don't have a bench guy to fill in. For whatever reason, you have to make some cuts. And of course, the ones I've made this year have really haunted me and caused me numerous nightmares, okay? Just kidding. All right, the Mets beat the Cardinals yesterday 6-1. The poor Cardinals just keep losing. I don't know when I'm going to say to myself and accept the fact that the Cardinals may not bounce back from this. But I will say, I have to reiterate this. The Cardinals actually have the worst record in the National League. That means they have a worse record than the Pirates. They have a worse record than the Nationals. They have a worse record than... Those 2 are good examples, but they played against the $355 million Mets yesterday, and the Mets won their 2nd straight game since losing 9 of their last 10. The Cardinals have dropped 6 in a row and 13 of the last 16. You know, they won the NL Central last season, okay? They have the worst record in the National League. They're off to their worst start in 45 years. This game only took 2 hours and 1 minute. It was the fastest 9-inning Mets game since 2019. And it only took 2 minutes longer than that game, so... Tyler McGill earned his first win since last month. He allowed 4 hits in 6 innings. He struck out 7, and he didn't walk anybody. It was his first victory since May 18th. He was 0-2 in his previous 4 outings, including a dreadful performance last Friday in Pittsburgh. Miles Mikolas lost his 3rd consecutive start after winning his previous 4 decisions. He allowed 6 runs, 8 hits, 6 innings. Here's the thing. The Mets scored 3 runs in the first inning yesterday, so they were actually off to a fast start in last night's game. But on the season, they've been outscored 50-19 in the first inning. So it was a rare fast start for the Mets last night. Daniel Vogelbach, they called this guy beefy. I don't know. Is that offensive when you call someone beefy? I don't think I would like if someone called me beefy. Anyway, Vogelbach, he hit his 3rd home run of the season. He returned to the lineup. because he was actually having a rough patch. He snapped an 0 for 12 slide. It was his first home run in 53 at-bats since May 7th. Brett Beatty hit a 2-run double. Tommy Pham came through yesterday. He had a pair of 2-out RBI singles. Wilson Contreras homered. Now, this is a rookie mistake, and I'm not harping on Jordan Walker by any means, but when the Cardinals were trailing by 4 in the 5th inning, St. Louis had a 2 on and 1 out. Jordan Walker was thrown out on an ill-advised attempt to steal third. These youngsters, they need to be reprimanded when they're not supposed to steal. I don't know. I'm not harping on them, but this is the second time in about a week that I've read about youngsters, very young youngsters, going past, running through base coach stop signs when the third base coach tells you to stop and you just run past him, or when you take the green light when nobody, when you're, I don't know. I just feel like they need to learn early about this. Anyway, no, I'm not trying to harp on Jordan Walker. At least he's trying to steal bases. Anyway, Lars Nootbaar, he's scheduled to be the DH for AAA Memphis in his first rehab game today, and then hopefully he'll be playing the field at AAA tomorrow, so Lars Nootbaar on his way back. Dylan Carlson was hit on the left elbow by a 91-mile-an-hour cutter in the 7th, but he did stay in the game, so that's good news for Dylan Carlson. And Tyler O'Neill was transferred to the 60-day injured list. Actually doesn't mean much. He's still eligible to come off the injured list July 4th because he's been there for so long already. He played catch, and he's running, and he might start taking swings in the next week or so. So just leave him on your injured list. That's where he stays for now. I told you Pete Alonso didn't say a timeline of when he can come back, but he is hitting in the indoor cages. So Pete Alonso, he's a big loss for fantasy managers. The Mets signed outfielder Rafael Ortega to a minor league contract. He was released by Texas on June 7th. Tonight you get to see Adam Wainwright against Kodai Senga. The Braves earned 11th victory in the last 13 games. They beat the Rockies 8-1. Travis d'Arnaud hit 2 home runs. Those 2 home runs totaled 907 feet. And the first of the 2 was actually Travis's 100th homer of his career. Eddie Rosario hit a 2-run homer. The Braves have hit 15 homers of at least 450 feet. No other team has more than 6. Okay? That's right. The Braves are crushing the ball. They have 15 homers of at least 450 feet. No other team has more than 6. Jared Schuster, I like this kid, went 5 2/3. He 5 hits, 3 walks, surrendering the only Rockies run on a bases-loaded force out in the 6th. He was the 3rd straight rookie pitcher to start for the Braves. You gotta love the Braves rookie pitchers. Atlanta won all 3 games. Now on the other side, you got Dinelson Lamet. This guy is just good grief. 4 innings, career worst, 8 runs, 5 hits, and he walked 5. So basically, the longer you leave this guy in the game, the more he's going to walk, the more he's going to allow hits and runs. He entered the game with a 10.38 ERA, and his ERA rose to 11.57. It's not good, okay? So here's the next tidbit about Dinelson Lamet. He had not allowed more than 5 earned runs in an outing since 2017 when he pitched for San Diego. Do you want to know why he hasn't allowed more than 5 earned runs in a game since 2017? Here's why. Because he never pitches more than 3 innings at a time, or 2 innings if you're lucky. This guy is not a starting pitcher anymore. He's an opener at best. And if he's an opener, he's hurting your fantasy team because he will never qualify at least for a win when he does have a good outing. 3 homers he gave up. That's a career high. Basically, you leave this guy in for 4 innings and you're going to be just crushed. Here's the tidbits about the great Ronald Acuna Jr. Stole his 30th base yesterday. Puts him on pace for 69 stolen bases this season. All right, the only Braves player with more steals through their first 70 games of any season was Otis Nixon. Do you remember him? In 1991. He had 46 steals, in the first 70 games. Also, Acuna might be the best player in baseball. 15 home runs, that puts him on pace for 35 homers. It would make him the first player in Major League history to reach 30 homers and 60 stolen bases in a season. This guy is on pace to be the best player in fantasy history with 30 homers and 60 stolen bases. He's already the first player with at least 15 homers and 30 stolen bases since 1900. Here's another tidbit. The only players in Major League Baseball to ever have 30 homers and 50 stolen bases in a season was Eric Davis. You remember him. He had 37 homers and 50 stolen bases in 1987. And Barry Bonds, who was all doped up, had 33 homers and 52 stolen bases in 1990. So Acuna is not making any predictions on what he's doing, but the stats show what he's on pace for. And here's his quote through an interpreter. He said, "Every time I get to first base, I'm running." All right, you've earned the right to run every time you get to first base. No joke about it. He's running. Okay, tonight you get to see Bryce Elder. He had the worst start of his season last outing, but he still has a 2.69 ERA on the season. He's going up against Connor Siebold. That's it. Danny Jansen homered for the third time in 2 games, scoring Toronto Blue Jays' only runs yesterday, backed up 6 innings by Kevin Gausman to win his 4th consecutive decision. The Blue Jays beat the Rangers 2-1. It's so sad to watch this happening to the Rangers, but I think these guys are right. They're falling apart. Jansen has gone deep 6 times in his last 12 games. It was only his 4th game since coming off the injured list Tuesday because he missed 2.5 weeks with a left groin strain, if you remember. Just one day earlier, Danny Jansen hit 2 solo homers for Toronto's only runs. The Rangers lost for the 7th time in the last 9 games. They went 9 for 49 with runners in scoring position last week when they lost 3 of 4 against the Angels. Last night, the Rangers were 0 for 9 with runners in scoring position. And here's what we're talking about Gausman. His line says he struck out 4. He leads the American League with strikeouts, 121. He allowed 1 run and 4 hits over 6 innings, but according to Merrill, it did not look great for Gausman. He was struggling with command the whole game. He's still 4-0 in his last 8 starts. Now, Jordan Romano, the closer from heaven, 20th save and 23 chances. Leody Taveras hit his 7th home run, and Martin Perez, he's given up home runs everywhere. 12 home runs in his 14 starts this season. He only gave up 11 home runs in 32 starts last season when he became an all-star player. He gave up 14 runs over 15 innings in his previous 3 starts. He still limited the Blue Jays to 2 runs on 3 hits over 6 innings. He struck out 3 and walked 1. John Gray's expected to start tomorrow. He was skipped in his last scheduled turn because of a blister. But John Gray's having a great season. He's 5-1 with a .84 ERA in his last 6 starts, including 12 strikeouts in a 100-pitch complete game on June 7th. So back to the mound tomorrow, John Gray. Dane Dunning going up against who knows for the Blue Jays, but they're going to have a bullpen game today. The Angels handed Kansas City its 10th straight loss. They beat the Royals 3-0. Unfortunately, Kansas City is the worst now, 18-51, on its longest losing streak since they dropped 11 games in a row in 2021. They were held to 4 hits or fewer for the 15th time and shut out for the 9th time this season. And the Angels have won 10 of their last 12. So, hello chat room. Good job. Keeping up the conversation is great. Leonard's here, enjoying it, right, Leonard?
Love it.
Say hi to the chat room.
I already did.
Okay.
In the chat room.
Patrick Sandoval threw 7 innings, but he didn't retire the Royals in order until he struck out the side in the 7th. 4 hits, 4 walks. He hit a batter, but he struck out 6. Sam Bachman retired 6 straight batters in his first professional save. That means he pitched 2 innings to get that save. There was no, Sam Bachman, considered as a save guy, but you also have Estevez there, and I think it was just really a random save opportunity. The Royals starter Brady Singer, 2 runs and 8 hits and 5 1/3. Not too bad for Brady Singer. Brandon Drury drove in 2 runs. Anthony Rendon was held out of the game because he has soreness in his left wrist. He was hit by a pitch on Thursdays, and his x-rays were negative, and he's listed as day-to-day, but he's sitting on the bench with a sore left wrist. Salvador Perez was not in the lineup. He was hit by a pitch on Wednesday. X-rays on him were negative, and the manager said Perez is likely to be back soon. Okay, we'll see. Salvador Perez, see if he's playing today. So, the Angels called up Michael Stefanik from AAA Salt Lake. Didn't do any research on this youngster. Anyway, check him out. His name's spelled Stefanic, if you're interested. Gio Urshela was placed on the 10-day injured list. He's got left pelvis fracture. He did miss the prior 4 games with back soreness, but he fell down awkwardly Thursday at Texas. Completely different injury. He was on crutches, and x-rays revealed the fracture. That's why I think that's probably why they called Stefanik up. Guess who got called up for the Royals? Okay, as bad as this team is, I'm super excited for my AL only league where I own Samad Taylor, Samad Taylor. He was recalled from AAA. He wasn't in the lineup yesterday, but he's making his debut today. This is another guy that you should pick up if he's even available in your leagues. I'll tell you what he did so far at AAA. In 239 at-bats, 50 runs, 37 RBIs, 6 home runs, okay, wait for it, 34 stolen bases, and a .301 batting average, a .407 on-base percentage. This is not your run-of-the-mill stolen base kid. This guy is on fire. I'm not saying that the team is going to do great, but I'm very excited. This guy could push me up in the rankings for stolen bases, which will help my team immensely. You know, one of the categories in Roto is obviously stolen bases. You can move up in stolen bases quickly, okay, because you only need a few. If I had an extra 34 stolen bases in the AL only league, I would have a team probably in first or second place. Anyway, I'm super excited about Samad Taylor. This kid has stole 34 bases in 239 at-bats. He doesn't have a problem getting on base. Now, of course, this is all relative to the fact that he's in the minors, and you never know how a player is going to transition right away when you start facing major league pitching. But it's exciting. He should be another one you consider in your call-up section this weekend. I'm definitely putting him on my lineup right away. Tonight you get to see Griffin Canning against Mike Mayers. Reds beat the Houston Astros 2-1, and the Astros went 0 for 8 with runners in scoring position. The 1-2-3 hitters, okay, Mauricio Dubon, Altuve, and Bregman were 0 for 12 last night. This youngster Abbott allowed 4 hits in 6 innings. He's the first Major League Baseball pitcher since 1893 when the mound was moved to its current distance to open his career with 3 consecutive scoreless starts of at least 5 innings. Walked 2, struck out 2, set a franchise record for the most scoreless innings to start a career, 17 2/3 innings. J.P. France, 4 hits, 2 runs, 6 2/3 innings. It was his 8th career start. Tyler Stevenson hit his 5th home run yesterday among 2 hits. Alexi Diaz got his 18th save. Matt McLean got Cincinnati's first hit with one out in the fourth and stole second base. Nick Senzel was reinstated from the 10-day injured list, and Jose Barrera was optioned to AAA Louisville. Tonight you get to see Hunter Green against Brandon Bilak. The Detroit Tigers 7-1 victory over the Twins. Detroit hasn't won a season series against the Twins since 2016. They entered the 4-game series at Minnesota, having lost 13 of 15, and the Tigers have won the first 2 games by a combined 15-5 score. Mason Englert, he got the victory with 2 innings. He relieved the opener, Will Vest. 6 Tigers pitchers combined to allow 7 hits and strike out 10. Joe Ryan, the Twins starter, allowed a season-high 6 runs in 7 innings, gave up 7 hits, struck out 7. Ryan actually had a 2.21 ERA through his first 10 starts this season, but he's allowed 16 runs in 23 and 2/3 innings over his last 4 starts, and his ERA has risen to 3.3, which is still not bad, but he's definitely not the guy he started the season. Matt Vierling hit 2 solo homers.
When he told you to get him.
So, in 5 games since returning from the injured list, Matt Vierling, who Lenny's been bragging about, has 9 hits. 3 of those hits are homers and only 17 at-bats. Javier Baez had a 3-run homer yesterday. Baez has hit safely in 6 straight games and 9 of the last 10. He's hitting .302 with 2 homers and 7 RBIs over the last 10 games. Jonathan Scope had an RBI single. Alex Kirilloff, his 4th home run of the season. Eduardo Rodriguez threw a bullpen session. Tarek Skubal is scheduled to make another rehab start for AAA on Wednesday. And Kenta Maeda, he made a rehab start for AAA St. Paul. He went 4 1/3, 1 run, 2 hits, and 4 walks. So he's returning soon. The Twins are having Jose De Leon start a bullpen game today in an extra effort to give the rotation some days of rest, and he's going against Joey Wentz. The Brewers beat the Pirates 5-4 yesterday to stop a 6-game losing streak and took over first place in the NL Central. Can you believe it? They moved a half a game ahead of the Reds and the Pirates. Pittsburgh has lost 4 straight, and they're 14-26 after a 20-8 start to the season. Rich Hill allowed 4 runs, 3 earned, and 3 hits in 5 innings with 6 walks. Okay, I'd like to clarify 6 walks, was 1 shy of his career high. It took him 36 pitches to get through the first inning. He walked 3 of the first 4 batters that he faced and committed a pitch clock violation. Okay, not a good outing for Rich Hill. Julio Teheran is great. Allowed 2 runs and 1 hit in 6 innings. I picked this guy up in a great league. I couldn't believe he was still there, but he was. He has a 1.78 ERA in 5 starts. Okay, great, excellent, love it. Carlos Santana hit a solo homer. It was his 3rd homer in the last 7 games. Joey Wiemer homered, ending an 0-for-19 slide. It was his 9th home run of the season. Milwaukee's 15 outfield assists are tied with Detroit for the Major League lead. Devin Williams got his 11th save. Jesse Winker will be activated sometime this weekend, okay? That's according to Counsell, the manager. And tonight you get to see Mitch Keller against Wade Miley. The Diamondbacks, we love the underdog. Diamondbacks ended a 3-game losing streak by beating the Guardians 5-1. They finished the game with 5 different players who had an RBI and 11 hits. All right, Zach Gallen, we love it. Struck out 7, 6 innings. He was wearing a snakeskin belt, okay? He is great. These guys were swinging in the dirt at his breaking pitches because he's an excellent pitcher. All right, Ramirez did hit a home run off of him in the 4th inning, but he faced the minimum number of batters until that home run in the 4th inning. He allowed 2 runners to reach second base, and he didn't walk anybody. This year, this guy has the lowest walk rate of his career. He's walking less than 2 batters per 9 innings, and if you love his ERA, you should see his FIP. His FIP is even better than his ERA. Touki Toussaint was Cleveland's last-minute starting pitcher, so you got to give this guy a break. He was called in when Tristan McKenzie was scratched due to right elbow discomfort, but Touki Toussaint walked 5 batters, so he was lifted after 3 straight 2-out. So here you are on the mound, you got 2 outs. All you have to do is get 1 more out, and you walk 3 straight batters in the 4th inning. He only allowed 2 runs on 3 hits, but he did fall apart and lacked mound presence, I'll tell you that much. I told you that the Guardians designated Zunino for assignment, so Bo Naylor is coming up today. He will be in the lineup. And tonight you get to see Shane Bieber against Tommy Henry. Kyle Schwarber homered on the first pitch of the game. How many now homers for Kyle Schwarber in the freaking June so far? JT Realmuto and Alec Boehm went deep for the Phillies. They beat the Athletics 6-1. The Phillies have now won 4 straight and 11 of the last 13 games. Oakland lost its 3rd in a row, but they did have a 7-game winning streak, before that. The A's are just above Kansas City for the worst record in the majors. They are saying that the Nevada enacted the $380 million for public financing, but the game drew 16,084 yesterday. The fans are all of a sudden starting to show up. They're still going to play at the Coliseum, I think, through next season because their lease doesn't expire until after next season. But they entered the day with a major league low attendance, averaging 8,363 per game. Taijuan Walker, 1 run, 7 hits, a season-high 8 innings, though. He didn't walk anybody, and he tied a season high with 8 strikeouts. J.P. Sears gave up 4 runs and 4 hits in 7 innings. Whoops. I completely lost my spot. We had an accident over here. It's okay. Just give me a second. Sorry, I tried to make this podcast shorter this year, or this week, but I never do. I still have like 3 games left. All right. Let's just move on to where I'm at now. J.P. Sears, he allowed 17 home runs this season already. He gave up 3 yesterday. Philly is averaging almost 6 runs per game over its past 13 games, and they've hit 19 home runs in their last 13 games, with Schwarber hitting 6 in the last 12 games. That's crazy. Schwarber actually hit the very first pitch he saw yesterday. So, Realmuto and Boehm, I told you that. Christian Pache was reinstated from the 10-day injured list. He started in center field, and imagine this, he went 0 for 2 with a walk, but he did do some good defense work. So tonight you get to see Christopher Sanchez against James Caprillion. All right. Shane McClanahan pitched into the 7th inning to get his major league leading 11th win. Randy Arozarena homered. He drove in 4 runs, and Tampa Bay beat the Padres 6-2. Tampa Bay is now 51-22, the best record in baseball with 7 wins more than the Braves. The Rays have won 11 of their last 14 games, and they're 15-7 in interleague play. McClanahan entered the game yesterday with the second lowest ERA in the majors at 2.18. He allowed 1 run and 3 hits, struck out 5 in 6 2/3. He lowered his ERA to 2.12. Nelson Cruz is the only damage against McClanahan. He hit a solo home run for his 7th of the season. Pete Fairbanks got his 7th save. Yu Darvish, 6 runs, 8 hits, including 2 home runs, in 5 innings. He struck out 5. Arozarena, 402 feet, homer. Isaac Paredes hit a homer off of Darvish. Luke Raley went 2 for 4 with 2 runs and 2 doubles. Taylor Walls doubled. Siri, RBI single. Ryan Weathers, the Padres pitcher, he was optioned to AAA El Paso. He allowed 12 runs across 6 1/3 innings in his past 3 starts, so he's going to continue to get regular starts with AAA El Paso. Tonight, whoop-de-doo, Zach Eflin against Blake Snell. Teoscar Hernandez hit a go-ahead home run in the 7th inning, and Brian Wu struck out 9, and the Mariners beat the White Sox 3-2 for their 3rd win in 4 games. 4 Seattle pitchers combined to walk nobody. They struck out 16, including your boy, Luis Robert, 4 times. Jake Berger and Andrew Vaughn both struck out 3 times. The White Sox have struck out 32 times in their last 2 games, suffering their 6th loss in 8 games. Teoscar broke a 2-2 tie against Tanner Banks. His fastball went 432 feet to center field. He's batting .364 with 3 homers and 10 RBIs in the month of June. Brian Wu, it was his first home start. This guy retired his first 9 batters. He allowed 2 runs and 3 hits in 5 2/3 innings. That's pretty good. He generated 18 swings and misses. He's got a great slider, a sinker, and a fastball that averages 95.6 miles an hour. Gavin Sheets homered. Andrew Benintendi, he hit a home run. You know this guy has not hit a home run in 273 plate appearances since last August 30th, okay? The Mariners went 2 for 15 with runners in scoring position. They stranded 11 base runners in the first 6 innings. Michael Kopech, 1 run, 6 hits, 4 1/3 innings. But he tied his career high because he walked 6, okay? And that career high was actually just set in May. So is Michael Kopech having a great season? Not so much anymore. He's had a couple good outings, though. Clevenger on the 15-day injured list, retroactive to Thursday, and the White Sox recalled Jesse Schultens from AAA Charlotte. Lucas Giolito will start today after allowing 1 earned run over 13 innings in his past 2 starts against Logan Gilbert. He gave up 7 runs and 8 hits over 3 innings at the Los Angeles Angels last Sunday. So the Dodgers, this is the last game. 6 innings. Okay, the Giants were hitless for 6 innings. They finally got to the Dodgers bullpen and the floodgates opened. Brandon Crawford singled in the go-ahead run in the 11th inning, and the Giants rallied for a 7-5 victory. We told you about Emmett Sheehan. I'm going to skip that because I'm over my time already, but he was excellent. He threw 51 of 89 pitches for strikes. His fastball averages 95.6 miles an hour. He had an excellent outing for his first debut. He got high fives and hugs in the dugouts. He retired the side in the 6th. He left with a 4-0 lead. The Dodgers bullpen blew up. There was 8 pitchers for the Giants and 7 pitchers for the Dodgers. The Dodgers committed a colossal base running blunder in the bottom of the 11th. I told you the Giants committed 3 errors, but they still won the game. The Giants have won 5 in a row and 8 of their last 11. They're actually 20-9 since May 15th. Tyler Rogers got the win. Wilmer Flores, whoop-de-doo. Although he did foul a ball off the top of his foot during the at-bat and later left the game, he had a home run yesterday. Mitch Haniger underwent surgery to repair a fractured ulna in his right arm. He went on the injured list. He's expected to be out 10 weeks, which is basically the rest of the regular season. So Mitch Haniger, see you later. Max Muncy, no surprise here, went to the injured list. He's got a strained hamstring. He could return, though, in time for a home series against Houston as early as June 23rd. That's good news. Chris Taylor left in the 4th inning with right knee pain. I told you he's getting an MRI. And David Peralta, we talked about earlier as well. Tonight you get to see Alex Wood against his former team, the Dodgers, and he's going against Bobby Miller, who is the 2nd straight rookie to start for the Dodgers. And Bobby Miller, 3-0 with a .78 ERA, and that is it for you folks on a Saturday. I hope you all have a wonderful day. We will see you in the morning for Lady and the Legend, 9 o'clock. That's it.